So there's 22 different stims in Escape from Tarkov, which is quite a bit, right? And they all do something different, and they're all different looking. Wipe is like literally, I would say a week away now, and it's Christmas time, so Christmas time wipe is always going to be a bit bigger. It's always a busier time, so I want to make this video for a bit of a heads up to those new players or relatively new players that are, you know, recently joining Tarkov, or they're going to join Tarkov for the first time ever, which I kind of feel bad about it, but like, because the game is actually a lot of pain, but it's fun pain. So we're going to be talking about stims and how we can lessen that pain a little bit in our raids, okay? We've got 5 stims to talk about. Let's get to it. So the first stim we're going to be talking about is the SJ6. Now, do not get confused with the morphine or the blue blood, because they kind of look very similar, but the SJ6 is a blue and white casing, okay? So let's talk about the SJ6. The SJ6 is by far the best stim in the game. For me, if they remove this stim, I would probably quit playing, because it makes raids that much better. What this thing does is it increases your time sprinting, and it regenerates stamina quicker. So if you're new to Tarkov, you know, the wipe just happened, our characters are gonna be level 1. So our stamina and, you know, and strength and all that stuff and endurance is very, very low. So we need a bit of a pick-me-up to get from point A to B. Normally I do is I use the SJ6 in the beginning of a raid to get to point B, and I want to do that quick. So what I do is normally I pop a painkiller like a Vaseline or a Golden Star or whatever I have, and I use one of these. Okay, so I start running, and I'm just running for a bit of time, longer than other people, okay, that don't have SG6. So you want to have this. You want to have this at all times. I would suggest having 2 of these at a time as well, for the beginning of the raid and also at the end of the raid. We're going to be talking about that relatively soon as well. So you want to have at least 2 of these with you, okay? At least 1, but 2 will be very, very comfortable. And make sure you get the Injector case. The Injector case is a quest item that you can get relatively early on in the game. A lot of people kind of miss on this. It stores 9 stims inside of it, right? It's a 3x3, and it allows you to store 9 stims. And you can also put this in your alpha container, your gamma container, whatever you want to, whatever you have, right? You could. This is a truly the best like upgrade you can get in the beginning of a wipe. Okay, so make sure you do a quest called Out of Curiosity, but it is chemical part 4, I believe. Now for the second stim, we have the ETG, green and white casing stim. This stim is by far the most powerful stim in the game, because it is an absolute game changer, especially in sticky situations where you get shot at, you get lit up, you get damaged heavily, and this stim will allow you to get out of that situation alive, and pretty well too. So what it does, to simplify it, it regenerates health on a massive rate. Like, it is insanely fast. It does not regenerate health on blacked out limbs, obviously, but any limb that is not blacked out, this will heal it to the full, like really quickly. Okay, now if you may have a blacked out limb and you pop this, as it's healing and your limb becomes available again, this will heal it like fairly quickly as well. But it only lasts a minute, so you have to time it pretty well. In a situation where you want to use this is you get lit up by players or a boss or even just a scav normally, because scavs are pretty cracked out. You're about to die, right? You're bleeding. You're just an IFAK or a Saliwa is not going to help you. You need this. You need to pop this as soon as possible. Heal up, and then you can take off your bleeds here and there bit by bit. Okay, so definitely always, this is truly a must stim to have with you at all times. It's called the ETG-change, regenerative stimulant injector, which is green and also white casing here. If you find this, keep it. Do not sell it. I would not sell any of these stims. They're hard to come by and they're pretty expensive too. So now the third stim we're going to talk about is the Zagustin hemostatic. So what this thing does is kind of has the name right there to it. This thing stops bleeds for 180 seconds. Any bleed that should happen will not happen, and any bleed that you have currently will go away. Okay, so ETG and Zagustin, they kind of work together. So they get lit up and you have no time to do hemostats, because hemostats, they take a little longer than stims do, just a tiny bit. But if you have a lot of stims, you have a lot of bleeds, you're bleeding, you probably have 2 light bleeds or a heavy bleed, or 3 heavy bleeds, you're gonna lose your HP really, really fast. So what you want to do is you want to pop a Zagustin, stop the bleeding, and then you want to pop an ETG to get your health back up. Okay, this thing is, I feel like people focus too much on hemostats. They go, it's good to have a hemostat with you, don't get me wrong, but sometimes when you have more than one heavy bleed and you're still in a fight, you need to pop this. Like, you need to pop this as soon as possible. The only downside to this is to get hydration recovery at a minus 1.4, so your hydration will go down. When eventually when you pop this, your hydration will go down. But if you find a carton of juice or milk or on a scav or something, which they normally have, you're gonna be good. One thing we didn't talk about before is the downsides of the ETG and the SJ6, which we're going to be talking about very soon. The SJ6 has barely any downsides. You only get a tunnel effect and a little bit of shake in your hands. And this one, it just decreases your energy recovery, your stamina recovery, and your skill and endurance and skill and health, which doesn't really matter that much, because skill and health and health regeneration is very different. It's a very different thing. So the downsides to this is not even as bad as Zagustin. Zagustin, it reduces your hydration, and if you don't find any drinks, you're gonna have a bit of a another situation in your hands. So even though like you're about to die, I would always pop an SJ6, Zagustin, to get out of the situation. Okay. The next stim, the fourth stim we're going to talk about, is the Propital. The Propital is the most used, I believe, the most used stim in Tarkov. It does a little bit of everything which people like, because it is a painkiller for 240 seconds, and it also regenerates health for 300 seconds, but at a much lower rate than the ETG. ETG is at 6.5, health regeneration at 6.5. And then this one is at +1, so it regenerates health, but a lot slower. Okay, but it is something. I normally use this when I run out of painkillers, or I get caught out without painkillers. Maybe I get into a fight and I forgot to use a painkiller before. I would use this and I would get back into the fight and just go with it. The downsides to this are the same as the SJ6. You got the hand tremor and you got the tunnel effect. These don't really do much. There really ain't much. A little bit of handshake really doesn't do much. And that's really it. Like, this is a really good go-to painkiller to have with you. They're kind of common, a lot more common than the other stims that we talked about. You can find these in med bags, especially in Shoreline, med bags and med cases as well, even sometimes on scavs. So make sure to keep an eye out for the Propitals. Okay, you can also craft these things for relatively cheap in the hideout as well, and they don't really go for a lot of money on the flea market. So grab them, have a couple with you. I wouldn't take more than one though. I wouldn't take more than one. I mean, if you want to take more than one, that's up to you, but normally I just take one Propital and I just send it, basically. So the fifth stim is actually 2, because we're going to compare them a bit, because they kind of do the same thing. We have the Mule, and then we have the Abdulbus 2. Okay, I do the Abdolbus 2 over the Mule because one, it is kind of easier to find, and two, it is a bit cheaper, and three, well, I think it's better. I really think it's better. I'll tell you why. So the Mule, you got the health regeneration at minus 0.1. So basically what this happens is you get a dot, a damage over time. As long as the stim is up on affecting you, you'll have a damage over time. So you need to be careful about that. You need to tend to that, okay? What I do is when I pop one of these stims is I use a Propital as well, because this thing regenerates health and this thing takes away your health. So at the same time, you're going to be healing the damage that this thing does to you, and it reduces your weight limit. So normally you get heavy in the middle of the raid or at the end of the raid. So it's an end raid stim. It's not at the beginning of the raid, because you want to get out of the raid with all the kit, all the gear that you found, and you want to make it. You want to do it quickly. You don't want to be like going prone and waiting for your stamina to recharge and all that crazy stuff. So you want your weight limit to be reduced, and this reduces it by 50%, which is a huge amount, right? This is a huge buff. But then talk about the Abdolbus 2. Also, this is 900 seconds, but then the Abdolbus is at 1800 seconds, which is the double. Okay, which is the double the duration. But with that comes health regeneration at -1, so you're going to be taking a little bit more damage, because the other one I believe was 0.1. Okay, so you got the Propital will heal it at the same time, at the same rate as it damages you. So you kind of have to use these together. But if you don't have a Propital, that's fine, because you can just use your med bags, your Salivas and whatnot. You can heal through this with no issue whatsoever. So what this thing does, it reduces weight limit by 45%. So it's not a big jump from 50% to 45. There's only 5%. You got skill and perception and attention, which allows you, I forgot which one, maybe chat will know, but one of these is, I believe it allows you to search for items quicker, which is pretty cool. As to, like, you're heading out of the raid, you find some loot boxes along the road, and it also increases your endurance and your strength, which is more weight limit increase. Okay, strength is, the more strength you have, the more weight limit you can actually have on yourself. Endurance allows you to run for longer, but then the downside to this is you have a -1 in stamina recovery, and that's basically really it. These stims, these 5 stims, is what I use to do my raids. Let me just show you. So I have them normally like this. This is what normally I use. Sometimes I only have 1 SJ6, sometimes I have 3. It depends what I'm doing, okay? I always have a Propital, ETG, Zagustin, Abdolbus, and always in this order, so I know when I open it up, I know where I'm going to be clicking. Tell me what you think about these stims that I just showed you. I would really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys take with you in raid, how many stims you take with you in raid, or if you take any stims, like, at all, because I know people actually don't use stims because they think it is unrealistic, which is to a point fair. I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to share this video, I would truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave the Twitch link in the description. You can watch this live there on Twitch, do your thing, you know how it goes. I would appreciate it, chat. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time.